maybe do an introduction. I'm Phil. I'm also usually been known as Get Good Cheesecake in most chats. I have recently changed that, but I've also spelled decidedly wrong because I'm really good at fucking spelling. I'm not.
No, I've got the same thing. I find it really difficult to like spell words that have more than like 6 letters and also read properly. I'm just not.
Says the guy who writes 40-minute long videos.
I know. I've never been good at writing. Like from a technical standpoint, I've always been bad at it. So it's bizarre that it's kind of become my career now.
Career? Well, yeah. I mean, you're a playwright, so playwright with no words larger than 6 letters.
Well, like the thing about the place that I write, usually they're sort of like character based. So I try and go for like dialects and like traditional nomenclature for whatever area the character's from. And a lot of the time, slang is between 3 to 5
letters.
And it's pretty easy to get that right. And so like you can pretty much spell slang however you want it. So that stuff doesn't really faze me, but it was when it comes to actual academic writing, like the amount of spelling errors in the text in my videos is ridiculous if you go through and like actually have a look, and that's just because I'm really, really bad at writing.
Microsoft Word is your friend, people. Microsoft Word is your friend. Yes, I know technology is bad, but if it tells you when you spell a word wrong, it's nice and it's friendly. And
like we hate Bill Gates, but he does mean that I get to spell necessary correctly at least.
Oh God, I hate necessity, necessary, definitely.
Necessary. Never eat cake, eat salmon sandwiches, and remain young. That's how I remember how to spell necessary. And I remember how to spell beautiful because of Bruce Almighty. Beau.
Beautiful. Yeah. I have a brother named Beau. Beau. So I can never actually misspell that name.
Beautiful Beau. Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. But definitely is another word I can never spell.
Oh, I couldn't tell you how to spell it right off the bat.
I know define.
I'm so bad at it.
Yeah, I know define, and that's about it. Beginning sometimes gets me.
Is the amount of G's in it?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's what got me with decidedly. There's so many D's in the word decidedly that I was just like, oh crap. Hey, new followers.
Too many D's.
Too many. I just got that. Oh, Waluigi's in there.
Of course.
Yeah.
As if I wouldn't. There we go.
So we have some viewers in chat. So I guess we'll just start.
Oh.
Hi, my name is Phil, and I've decided that I've been playing Magic for 20 years. So I decided that I wanted to do something with the years I've been playing Magic and the people I've met through playing, that I wanted to do something. So I was just like, well, I'm friends with a bunch of cosplayers. I've met a bunch of content creators. I'm also friends with a bunch of pro players. I wonder if they'll just let me ask them questions. And there was a resounding yes to all of these things. So from there, I was just like, all right, what's next? And I was just like, I need a gimmick. And I hate saying that because I always tell people to just be yourself and don't have a gimmick. But when you have friends who can make you giant dragon onesies, you just go for it. So that's what I did. So this show's called Ugin's Meditation Realm because of a book that was not well written. The Meditation Realm is now Ugin's. And it's kind of fitting that I say that because I am now joined by someone who is very critical of the books, who's very critical of the lore, and who's very critical of everything else in this world. And the one, the only, the Mr. Spice8Rack.
Hello. Good sweet afternoon here in sunny old England, which is actually for the first time this year
sunny,
properly sunny.
I was about to say, how cloudy is it?
It's we walked out of the house this morning and it's a literal blue sky outside. I woke up and I was amazed. It has been like I genuinely think this is the first clear day that we've had this year in England, at least where I live. So this is a genuine treat. The stars have aligned.
The expatriates walk outside, look up. Oh, the world's ending.
Things aren't how they should be. Good. The apocalypse has begun. Yes, hello. I'm Spice8Rack.
Living from the south, it is actually cold outside. So hey.
Oh, where?
I'm from New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like actual south.
Yeah, deep south. Fair. So is it? It's normally like massively warm.
Massively warm, massively humid. Right now, it is a cool 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Hang on. How much is that in Celsius? We have we.
Oh no!
We use like both imperial and metric for no.
Oh no! Public education didn't teach me this.
Hang on. It's like divide by 2, add 13 or something. Or something. It's genuinely something bizarre like that.
So that would mean 30 something if that was the case.
Christ. Okay. It's like 8 degrees over here. This is like nice.
So there would be a chance for snow if that was the case.
There would be a chance for snow
if there's a single cloud outside.
If there's a single cloud outside, or so like, it's 8 degrees Celsius here. So over there, 8 degrees Fahrenheit would be like.
Below freezing, so below 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
Good lord. Yeah, no.
Because water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, and water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
Who designed this system?
At least we're not in kelvins.
God. Oh, Kelvin. Oh, what's that chart? It's like if it's it's something like if it's if it's 0 degrees outside in Celsius, it's cold. If it's 0 degree outside in Fahrenheit, it's pretty okay. If it's 0 degrees outside in Kelvin, you're dead, and every single atom in your body is turned into dust.
Yes, because 0 degrees Kelvin is absolute freezing, which means everything frozen.
Yeah. Mm.
So enough about the science lesson. Which hooray! I will submit the floor to Spice8Rack to introduce himself and tell you guys kind of what he does.
Sure thing. Hello, my name is Spice8Rack. I am a Magic the Gathering lore and story content creator, but I also try to talk about other parts of the game that I find interesting and where the game intersects with like parts of our real world, be it contemporary politics or be it issues of accessibility within the arts, stuff like that. I try my best to broaden the discussion about Magic the Gathering to sort of more tangible ideas at the same time as discussing the story and focusing heavily on ludo narrative, which is the subject of game design that I'm most fascinated by, which is where a game story intersects with its mechanics in order to tell a narrative through gameplay. That stuff has fascinated me for many years. And I'm glad I now do a YouTube channel where I talk about that kind of stuff and write articles where I talk about that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool actually.
Also sponsored by Channel Fireball. You guys could go to Channel Fireball and get the cards.
Inexplicably, yes. So inexplicably sponsored by Channel Fireball. I was not expecting that. This whole YouTube thing has been a cavalcade of unexpected events, and Channel Fireball like reaching out to me and like sponsoring me was like one of the big ones because I assumed that would be like maybe 6 years in the making once I'd like established myself. But no, it was like around Magic Fest London was where we first started having chats, and that was when I was relatively small compared to what I am now. So yeah, I'm sponsored by Channel Fireball. Well, hey.
Yeah, and that started around right before Vegas, basically.
Yes, I confirmed everything with them before, because when was it? It was the best friends video.
Yes,
the best friends video that was the first one, and that was the one I released before Yorgmoth. And I remember having a chat with Dennis, my main contact, saying like, okay, you were super cool with sponsoring the best friends video. I will warn you now that the next one I'm going to release is going to be talking about the horrors of the Holocaust. Are you also okay with sponsoring that? And they were. Like, super
that's the really cool part, is that like all of your videos have been sponsored, regardless of what it was. It's been it's been like it's honestly been like
not sort of like a privilege, but I've been very lucky, effectively. Channel Fireball have been super good to me. They said day one that they didn't want to change anything about like the stuff that I wanted to do. They didn't want to like have any creative control in my main channel, and they haven't. The only things that they've said is like specifically about where the like the sponsor read goes, and just making sure I've got like stuff in the bios and stuff like that. They've been exceptionally cool when it comes to pretty much whatever I put out there. They've been pretty on board with sponsoring it. Although I would say, like, of course, all my views are my own. My views don't reflect the views of Channel Fireball, all that kind of like legal stuff.
So much that they even sponsored a video about your rant about cats.
Yes. Yeah. Well, like I sent a message again. I sent a message to Dennis saying, Dennis, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm releasing a video tomorrow. It's 40 minutes of me ranting about cats. Do you want me to put an ad read at the front or like a sponsor read? And he said, not only do I want you to, I insist that you do. They were genuinely insistent that they sponsor this video.
Dennis Stranjak, cool. You are a treasure and a gift.
No, he absolutely is. Absolutely delightful human being he is.
I met him at Vegas. He was very great.
No, he's like having chats with him and the whole Channel Fireball team. Are just really swell human beings. Although I have only met the sort of like the Irish core of them, but I've gone to Ireland, hung out with them. They're super chill.
Yeah, Dennis, James, they're all great.
Aye, indeed, for sure.
The Dublin team, as they call themselves. Which leads into one of our questions about your videos. I will ask, why 33 minutes of goblins?
I was inspired. I was inspired by. I've always loved goblins. They've always been my favorite tribe.
That was going to be my follow-up, which is like, is it your favorite tribe?
It's got to be my favorite tribe. The issue with I find with a lot of Magic the Gathering tribes is they often find themselves pigeonholed into certain ways of acting, certain sort of innate characteristics. Vampires are always going to be lofty. Merfolks are always going to be secluded. Goblin, and outside of humans, realistically, the only tribe that I've found that has that kind of actual like it feels like a lived diversity is goblins. Yes, they tend to be more on the stupid side, but you have various different flavors of stupid. It's like how Jack Nicholson has various different kinds of angry.
I was going to say very different kinds of Jack Nicholson, but yes.
Yeah, very different kinds of Jack Nicholson. They're all anger, but they're all very different kinds of it. And goblins have, you've got sort of, you've got the artificers of Mirrodin, you've got the schemers of Fiora, you've got the additional schemers, but sort of the aristocracy of the Chiron. You've got the sort of like the relative evilness of the Redcaps on Eldraine. There's such a breadth of diversity amongst goblins.
Yeah, the Boggarts of Lorwyn and...
Yes. Oh, the Boggarts, especially because their whole thing is that they are defined by their diversity. No two Boggarts are the same on that plane, which I find to be it's really interesting.
Yeah, no, that's super cool.
It's really super cool. And the thing I really like about the Lorwyn Shadowwind difference is that in Lorwyn, the diversity of the Boggarts is actually their strength. They understand that they're like all of them are different, but they all live pretty much under this one banner of Boggartry. And then you go over to Shadowmoor, you have that switch in the plane, and suddenly those differences they become very like divisive between Boggarts. Suddenly you've got people calling themselves hobgoblins. You've got Boggarts. You've got not Springjacks, but I can't remember the exact name for it. But Spriggans, yes, thank you. So you've got like all of the different goblin types suddenly have different names. They fall into different color identities, and that was a really interesting way of showing the like in one world the strength of diversity, and on the other world what happens if diversity is tempered with bigotry. I love that. I absolutely love that about Lorwyn and Shadowmoor, and that's actually why those specific goblins are probably my favorite. I really want to go back to Lorwyn and Shadowmoor now that we've gone through and fixed the day-night cycle over there, because I think it would be really interesting to see how sort of like how those two societies now intertwine with one another. But yes, like I think the other thing I was inspired by was I watch a lot of long-winded video essays anyway, about like things that don't really matter. Some of my favorite ones are like H Bomber Guy's 2 hour long video, Sherlock is garbage and here's why. Like that, if you haven't watched that, one of my favorite videos on the internet. It's literally 2 hours long. It's exceptional. And I loved long form content, and so I thought maybe to like draw attention to the fact that for over half an hour I'm going to be talking about goblins, I would call it 33 godless minutes of goblin analysis, and inexplicably it gave me a career. So I'm not complaining. I have a big love for goblins now, bigger than I had before. I would even say.
Well, the other question I have is, what is the obsession with Chiron?
So the Chiron of, it started as a joke in the original video. Like I didn't know everything that there was to know about goblins before I started making the video. A lot of it came from me doing research into wiki articles, story articles.
Yeah, the MTG like fandom wiki is like a gold mine. And...
Oh, it's incredible. I was very skeptical of using that at the start of my research. You know, like there's the whole the stigma about using Wikipedia as a source if you're doing academic research and the like. But when it comes to like fan related stuff, there's only been like one or two like, things that stick out in my memory of like very publicly that the wiki has got wrong or has been purposefully misleading about, and they've been rectified and sort of like broadcast that hey, this was wrong in the wiki and we've changed it. Like in when War of the Spark, someone had edited the wiki to say that Ral Zarek and Tomek faced discrimination because they were a gay couple, and then I can't remember who it was came out, but someone on the story team came out and said, hey, homophobia doesn't exist in the multiverse. This is completely wrong in the wiki. It has no basis in the story. So like that kind of stuff. The like the fact that the wiki is very, very closely monitored and supported by the fans. No one really wants to like try and mislead people on there. I found out so much through the wiki and through sort of like finding old PDFs and old versions of novels and the like that I had a little skim through. But the Chiron, I loved the Chiron because they are the polar opposite of everything that we had, everything that every other goblin tribe in Magic, except for maybe the ones in Fiora, which I genuinely do believe were very inspired by the Chiron. Because they came on top of things. They are the head of this hierarchy, and I found that dichotomy very, very interesting. On top of the fact, and this definitely was a joke, that they just happen to be the most handsome of all the goblins. Out of all of the goblins in Magic the Gathering, it is under. I'm not too here on Squee. Bit of a six head on that one.
I mean, that happens after endless years of torture, but
yeah, you know what? Fair play. He's gone through a lot. You've got me there. But the Chiron, I don't know. They just seem kind of handsome.
They've got long, spindly legs.
They've got muscular legs. I'll have you know. Thank you very much. I don't know. I just thought they were more handsome than other goblins.
Yeah, considering how my favorite goblin is the Phyrexian Mirrodin goblins, which are just basically heads with legs and feet. Yes. Yeah. So
I love those designs as well. That's the other thing. There's such a breadth of design within Magic the Gathering's goblins that you don't really see with other tribes. Like for example, like the biggest one that I immediately think of is like Merfolk have a reasonable breadth of design choice. For example, like the Merfolk of Ixalan are very different to the Merfolk of Eldraine. And you kind of have that as well with like vampires, although majority of them look like Innistrad vampires, except for Zendikar, who of course has the spines. Yeah. But goblins do have that like real breadth of like the Aki of Kamigawa are so completely unlike any other kind of goblin. Even when it's short green skin creatures with pointy ears and pointy noses, like you can instantly tell the difference between a Chiron, between a Mog, and between a goblin from Fiora. Yeah. There's a huge difference, which I love. I love that. I just like diversity within art styles, within character design. And
that's the crazy part for me, because we're gonna kind of stay in goblins for a little bit. Ravnica has such a diverse amount of goblins inside of itself that it's crazy, because you go from like you look at Krenko, and then you look at something like well, the two designs of Krenko, which are very different actually amongst themselves. It's very weird. So you look at the original Krenko art, and then you look at the new Krenko art. You're like, those two don't look like the same person.
Yes. Yeah. I think I did notice that. I think they got it kind of similar. I'm willing to go off on sort of benefit of the doubt on how different they are, because new Krenko doesn't have his crown on, old Krenko did, and I'm okay with imagining that maybe he did look like that, but the fact that he was wearing this massive crown and hood effectively was covering a lot of that up.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's too different, but I do agree they're significantly they are significantly different art forms, but I think I could buy them at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, and the joke I always say is they didn't let Pete do all the art for goblins anymore, so all the goblins started looking different now. Because for the longest time, Pete Venters, who's a great artist, I love him, did a lot of the art for goblins. If you saw a goblin in Old Magic, a lot of the times Pete did the art for it. He is an amazing artist, and I truly love him. He also was basically head of story for a while. I believe. Yeah, I believe he was head of story for a while, in the actual old days before all that stuff, before what we have now. And that leads us into our next best question. How do you feel about the current iteration of story and lore?
Wow.
I know you stated it in your political, the most electable government video, but I would love to see you go into more detail, because a lot of people here love lore, and we're not getting it.
I will be going into more detail in this month's video, but I will also go into detail now. It's very disappointing, especially seeing as, when I first got into the game was when we had this big shift away from physical novels and supplementary online stories to all of the core story is going to be freely available online, written in-house. And it is disappointing to go from, was it 3, almost 4 years of pretty consistent good writing
in-house
with in-house consistent good writing with the creative writing team that obviously had a communication between the card design team, the art team, and the story team as a whole, because the cards very clearly linked up with the story. The story utilized card art in a really effective manner. There were no inconsistencies, at least none that immediately stood out to me. Yes, maybe the timeline was a bit skew every now and again, but not anything particularly noticeable. And we got so many iconic moments with those in those years. Of course, we got amazing characters like the Raven Man was first introduced. I can never remember. Is it Alicia or Elsha?
Elsha. Who Smiles at Death?
Alesha? Yeah.
Alesha.
Alesha, thank you. I can never remember.
That's fine. Elsha is the Jeskai one.
Yes, you're right. Thank you.
Elsha
so is it Elsha? Alesha, thank you. Good Lord.
It's fine. They make names that sound alike all the time, and it's actually quite frustrating sometimes for a person like me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. No, I completely agree on that front. But we got Magic's first canonically trans character. We had incredible stories like The Flood, which I keep reading every now and again. I just go back to the in Ixalan, when Jace's memories come back and Vraska sees how Liliana has been manipulating him. It moments like that were super cool, and I loved seeing the style of writing that the in-house team had to offer. And of course, it was all freely available, very shareable, all centrally put into one area, so that anyone who access the lore just knew exactly where to look. It was great. And then that changed for some reason.
Yeah, we got a newsletter thing going on, and then
this is the thing. My next video is going to be about accessibility within art and within entertainment. Specifically talking. Thank you. Specifically talking about both the tangible accessibility and the intangible accessibility. And tangible accessibility is literally how easy is it for you to get to the point where you can experience and access this art. So, for example, that could be something as literal and physical as a wheelchair ramp to get into a like a I don't know a rock event or something like that, or it can be if a text is cheap or freely available online for you to read. And then the intangible accessibility part of it is do you need to have like a degree in order to even understand what's going on? Do you like? Is it easy to read? Is it easy to get involved with? Is there a lot of gatekeeping going on? So those two kinds of like tangible and intangible accessibility. And I'll talk about more about that in this month's video. But the way that the story delivery has shifted to being so less accessible, both in terms of obviously the big one is we have to pay for some of the story now, which I would, if all of the story had always been paid for, I would probably be a bit annoyed by it, but I wouldn't really think too much of it. Like, whatever, I guess you've got to pay your writers. I'm not mad at that. But the fact that it has been free for the last like 3 years and now all of a sudden it's not with no discernible reasoning behind it is confusing. It's also quite insulting because you look back at like Nick Kelman, who was of course in charge of the story.
That's a whole other video in itself. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
But yeah.
No, but he said the reason what I'm aiming for is to make Magic the Gathering bigger and better than before. I want our story to have the same reputation as our art, and I want to bring on writers with chops. And then 3 months later, he gives the prestigious task of writing the first physical Magic the Gathering novel in nearly a decade to the guy who co-wrote Bionicle Mask of Light. I don't get it. I'm very frustrated.
That movie is a masterpiece, and I will not have this movie trashed on my podcast.
Listen, Bionicle Mask of Light is the one good Bionicle movie.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's not good.
It's not great.
It's not great, but putting all that aside, the other things that
he wrote Gargoyles, which was an amazing show.
I never watched Gargoyles. I must admit. I looked through Weissman's
IMDb credits.
Yeah, his what he's written, and he has a couple of novels under his belt for World of Warcraft and the and they do have good reviews on Amazon. I'm not going to buy any of them to confirm that. But
he very much wrote the book like a TV show. I felt, and it was very hard because it was he said, she said, he said. It was you don't need to say this person said this after every statement they said.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
There are a lot of glaring issues. Even in the original War of the Spark novel, very small things just spelling things wrong.
Yeah.
A Jutai was misspelled. Basic stuff like that. I know it's very
Waluigi type.
Oh, yeah. I think he I don't even remember what he did, but I know it was misspelled. But it was basic stuff I know it's really nitpicky to say, oh, you didn't get the dragon clan of Tarkia, you didn't get their name exactly right. But still, if you're going to be producing something that is evocative of and now people are going to be paying for it, you want to see ideally you'd like to see an increase in quality, because you're suggesting by way of making people pay for it that this work has inherently more value, so we have paid this writer more than we had before to produce a better quality of work.
Yeah,
a very capitalist way of looking at
he's not a contractor. He is a actual hired writer at that point.
Yeah. And then I don't know. The other thing that really frustrates me about the whole thing is Wizards are now holding up the Wildred Quest sold better than we could ever have imagined. So we're going to now focus on doing e-publishing from now on. And then using that as an excuse to continue down this path, even though the vast majority of people who care about and who like the story want to see a return to the in-house team and B, the freely available story articles. They're using the sales numbers as an excuse, when realistically, people aren't buying it because they're excited to read.
They're buying it because they have to.
Quest. Yeah, they're buying it because they don't have another choice.
Yeah.
They're buying it because I care about this game's story, and now I have to pay for it. And it's it's £6. I can spare £6. All right, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
But now Wizards are taking that as going, see, everyone loves the fact that we're making people pay for the story. Otherwise, why would they buy it? It's a false choice. So yeah, I'm very frustrated with the whole state of the story, both from like a literary perspective, but also from an accessibility and a business perspective as well. There's no reason for people to be paying money for these crap novels. No reason why we don't have all of the novels centrally put into one area, other than the fact that it's money. And fuck that, honestly.
Yeah, no, I get that. Someone in chat actually asked a question, and I'm going to ask it because it kind of loops back around to goblins. Thick Queer Boy asked, "What? I love the username though. What do you think about the unity amongst races you were talking about before with Lorwyn, and the conspire mechanic like on Worth the Raid Mother?"
Oh, the conspire mechanic. I think like let's have a think. So what specifically, if we're looking at it from a lunar narrative perspective, the fact that Wart has conspire, but she only produces red-green goblins, that doesn't necessarily tell me that the goblins themselves are actually more unified within Shadowin. It means that they're unified within their color identities.
Yeah,
they're unified within within to like their sub races, as it were. So that's what that tells me more so than I guess like there was no conspire mechanic obviously in original Lorwyn.
No, there was. Trying to think of the mechanics.
There was Clash. There was Evoke. There was hang on, Clash, Evoke, Kinship,
I believe. Yes, which showed the togetherness of and unity.
There was Reinforce, and I think those were the only ones that immediately come. Retrace was Shadowing.
Tribal.
Tribal, Tribal just in general. I forgot about that.
Because that was the first instance of Tribal, which is a...
Oh, was it? I
believe so. I don't believe it. Before then, it would have to show up in Future Sight, and I don't think it did.
It also showed up in Rise of the Eldrazi.
Was Future Sight before or after Lorwyn?
Future Sight was before. Sight was before.
Because
we got I think we got like Gold Meadow Lookout in Future Sight.
We also got Grave Cairns in Future Sight. That's what it was.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and then we got the Filter Lands after. So
but yeah, I think the only times that like tribal, like sorcery tribal stuff showed up was Lorwyn and Rise of the Eldrazi.
Yes,
pretty cool. If memory serves, I could be wrong on that. But yeah, like I think that I'd have to revisit like Lorwyn and Shadow more in terms of the card. I do want to do like a video on it at some point because it is one of the sets I do have a great, despite never playing it in my entire life.
Yeah, I was about to say I may have done like 1 or 2 limited drafts of it, and that's kind of about it.
I think the aesthetic of it was something that I genuinely spoke to me a lot more than most sets. I love like fairy stories. I love that.
Fairy tales are amazing.
And folk tales and the like. Yeah, that kind of stuff I absolutely adored, and I much preferred how they did it in sort of like allusion to the vague notion of folktale in Lorwyn and Shadowmoor, as opposed to the like 1-to-1 allegories that they did in Eldraine.
Yeah.
I like things like Ginger Brew. I thought they were fun, but when it's like it's just the Hans Christian Andersen and Brothers Grimm set.
Yeah,
it's kind of a bit.
And then
it feels.
And then you toted King Arthurian legend, and then there's like just there's kind of it there, but it's not like all there, and it's See, that was kind of frustrating for me when I was just like, all right, you just met knights. Like, there's no Balin, there's no like actual king, like really really good King Arthur reference. I mean Kenrith, I guess, if you really want to think about it, but like if you want to call it, say that he's in this set, that's fine, but like he is a buy a box promo. Like if he is kind of like one of those one-off cards that just kind of that just kind of sit there. You also did a video on that, so you guys want to watch that. It's also a very good video.
Plug.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a firebox promo. I just don't like the idea of it being like its own separate card.
Yeah.
I preferred it how they used to do it, which is just like you get cool promo art.
Yeah, here's a cool promo art for like card, and like half the time it was a really good card. Like for like Fate Reforged, it was Shamanic Revelation, which was, I mean, a extremely playable card in Commander. For M19, it was Goblin Rabblemaster. Or no, in Magic 2015. I'm sorry, 2015. It was Goblin Rabblemaster.
For Theros, it was Sylvan Caryatid. Like they were really, like properly well played cards.
Yeah.
I think M14 was Ratchet Bomb, which you can't always hit.
Yeah.
But, like,
I mean, it was played in
like,
standard, so because there was a tokens deck, so it was played in standard.
yeah, it's true. It's true. But yeah. Sorry.
So
I derailed.
Our next question: why can't a spooky boat be my best friend?
Because a spooky boat isn't sentient. The spooky boat is just a boat. It's just a boat. You can't have a boat as your friend. I mean, you can, but I don't want one. Remember, like
Spooky McBoatface is my best friend, and you will not tell me otherwise.
all of the best friend video was all about my best friend.
Oh yeah,
I want to be my best friend.
And you picked right.
I'm sorry.
You picked right. No. I mean, you did kind of throw me out for a loop because you talk about Slowbad for like 15 minutes of that 33-minute video.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to get into Slowbad because he's also one of my favorite characters in Magic, and I'm hoping Commander Legends gives him a Planeswalker card. They should. He was a Planeswalker for like 2 seconds.
I would be, but he was really still a Planeswalker. Happy with that.
They keep saying like, no, we're not going to make Slowbad a Planeswalker. I'm just like, or just do it. Like, just fucking do it. It's not that big of a deal.
He was a Planeswalker.
Yeah,
he literally was.
And then you gave it up for his best friends.
You could have his ultimate be something like, return to the battlefield. All creatures and artifacts in your opponent's graveyards, and then create X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens under target opponent's control, where X is the number of creatures returned to the battlefield this way. And so you've got the bring everyone back, and then you've also got he gets murdered by his own kind.
Yeah, how did you feel about that being the ending to Slowbad?
Well, like
I hated it. I'm gonna be honest, I hated it.
I was always I didn't get into Magic until much later. But like I think it's a tragic end for a really cool character, Magic's first Goblin Planeswalker, to just get
basically trampled by like his own kind.
I think it was tragic. Yeah. I don't know if it was like I obviously I'd prefer it if he was like sticking around and was still like hanging about and doing stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not too mad at it because it is like it was kind of foreshadowed at the start of his story where he's been exiled from his own kind, and when he finally and he's been trying really, really hard to reconnect, and the final moment that he does this good thing, he's still not part of the crew to the point where they kill him. I think that's still a really it's tragic, but I think it's still an interesting way to end that narrative.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's frustrating. But
because
it's not like
I never grew to like Geth. I mean, like Glissa was okay, but I was like Slowbad. That Slowbad guy. That Slowbad guy's great.
Whatever on Geth. Geth sucks.
Geth is
just a head.
Yeah. So. All Hail Bolas in chat asks, is Slowbad the smartest goblin ever, right? And I'm just like, I don't know anymore, because you have people like Krenko. Krenko's extremely smart.
There's different kinds of intelligence.
Yeah.
This is the thing. You've got obviously the wily, scheming intelligence of someone like Krenko or Grenzo. Then you've got the artificer, technical know-how of Slowbad and Duretti, who is my favorite planeswalker. But then you've also got sort of the mystical know-how, Ben Aki Hermit or Ingot Chewer. I can't remember her name. Someone Ingot Chewer. The Zendikar one.
Zada Hedron Smasher. You mean Zada
Hedron Smasher.
Yeah.
Ingot Chewer is an elemental from Lorwyn, so I got confused.
A really good elemental, though. So
very good. I run it in my Felgrim to the Third Path deck. But
Commander plugs.
I love that deck so much. But yeah, there are different types of intelligence. I wouldn't say I don't think there is a one. This is the most intelligent character in all of Magic the Gathering, because then you'd have to maybe this is going down the rabbit hole a bit too much. But there is no way to define intelligence as a broad measure. Doing so is fruitless on a sort of very literal basis, because you'd need to take every kind of different facet of intelligence into account, work out which ones are more important, and also in any given environment, for example, Slowbad is going to be the smartest goblin on Mirrodin potentially, but if you took him to Kamigawa, she's not going to know anything.
Yeah.
Because there is no artifice on that plane. You might make some really nice swords, but that's about it. He's not going to know about the mysticism there. So yeah, that kind of stuff.
The flavor text on Silhouette very much fits like his whole story. I believe Glissa you said that he was exiled for being too smart, and then she realized, oh, she was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's quite.
Yeah.
I really like that kind of poignant flavor text. I wish we had more of it.
Loxia Spur asks in chat, how do you feel about the color shifted creatures like black mana dork elves, like and stuff like that? Mana dork elves and being
I think
in
they
black
work
and stuff.
fine. I like it when the color pie is sort of played with.
I do too.
Like elves. It's not elves of the deep shadow. That's
yes, it is the green one that produces black. No, that's the green one that produces black. There's one from Origins that was a Lorwyn elf that is black that produces.
It was like something root trapper or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that kind of stuff I love. I love seeing colors that don't normally get certain elements of the pie being given it as sort of like an experiment, because it shows the game's mechanics and the game's like identity is still evolving. It's still trying to be fresh.
Yeah.
This is why I really liked like unsets, like the one that's just coming out, the unsanctioned. One. Yeah, with the red and white dragon.
Yes.
And that, like, obviously that's never going to be an actual card in the game. But seeing, which is kind of disappointing to be fair. But seeing things like that and seeing like colors given different flavors, different ideas, different mechanics, different abilities.
Giving a blue creature a fight effect is amazing.
Pardon, sir?
Giving a blue creature a fight effect. That was kind of crazy with Alexander Clamilton.
Alexander Clamilton.
Yes, who I am actually building a commander deck for. Yeah, so.
Oh, that's excellent.
Turns out I talked to Maro about it. Huh?
He's the one which is like wordy
words.
Cards
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turns out host creatures. When the enters the battlefield is on a different frame than the effect that happens. So those are all separate lines of text. I talked to Maro about that. So yeah, cards like Numbing Jellyfish have technically 8 lines of text when you cast them. So they're technically wordy.
That's wordy.
Yeah. Sagas also very wordy. Yeah, I talked to him about that too.
Oh, I'm excited to see this deck now. I personally love the I think my favorite one has to be the dragon at the moment. Just because I think you can, if you, it seems so very build around me.
Oh yeah.
That I would love to make a deck like that. Plus, like, it would be an interesting Boros deck that doesn't just involve fighting.
Yeah, smashing things in the face. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is something I'd really like to see. I know they tried to do that with Feather Redeemed and Firesong and Sunspeaker, but I don't think they've quite figured out how to make red white.
Firesong and Sunspeaker is just too expensive because when they die, you
yeah,
have to pay like 9 mana to cast
in red and white. Yeah,
it's like
fine.
I don't want to have to pay 8 mana
like
once they just get doom bladed.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's ridiculous.
So, favorite commander deck you currently own?
Favorite commander deck? I mean, my pet deck is Sheree Shizo's Caretaker. Baby. It's an aristocrat. It's an aristocrat deck. It's an aristocrat deck that mainly revolves around an engine of Sheree, several different tutors, and bottle gnomes. Which is
gaining all that life.
Yeah, just get like the thing that I like about Sheree and the thing I like about Commander is when you have effective combos, but they're not infinite combos. I never like infinite combos in Commander. I much prefer Sheree, which is like in like 5 or 6 turns, this will kill everybody on board, but it does give everyone 5 or 6 turns to get around it if they want.
Kill my Zulaport Cutthroat, or else you all die.
Yeah. No, exactly, absolutely. I like the amount of different aristocrats that have been going on recently, because you had, of course, Zulaport Cutthroat, but now we've also got Vindictive Vampire and stuff like that. So there are like 4 mono black Blood Artist effects in the deck now, which is great. I'm really here for it.
Yeah.
I think that's like my pet deck. But my favorite deck, I don't know. I have an Animorph deck, which is infinite fun.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorites. It's not particularly good, but it's a lot of fun to pilot. And I think potentially my favorite one is Felden of the Third Path. I just love that guy. I love the story. I love the interactions. I love the fact that the deck can just randomly win out of nowhere with a 3-mana 2/4.
Yeah.
2/3 rather. I think it's such a fun deck. And I think that's probably my favorite. If I'm gonna have to pick one, it'll be the mono red Felden deck toolbox set.
So that leads me to a question that I just thought about, because I really think that this is a question that should be asked. Why don't we get more stories about the commanders from commander sets? Because when they started doing that, that was amazing. Like when they gave you Felden's story, that was great. I loved that.
Well, this is what this is what's so disappointing about the fact that, because we haven't had a new story article since November 2019 now. The last story article that was printed was the last chapter in the rat chapters of Magic, of War of the Spark.
Yeah.
So we haven't gotten anything for Eldraine, nothing for like upcoming sets, nothing for Magic 2020, nothing for that. That literally didn't have a story. I think that's the only Magic the Gathering set, because even like M14 had some stuff about Chandra. M15 had the the stuff that was taking place on Chandalar with the Anarchy. I can't remember if there was one for M16, but like the mass majority
Origins was literally everyone's it's everyone's origin story. So there you go.
I don't know if they have one for M16. For God's sake, absolute idiot of me. But yeah, this is the first Magic set I think in a really long time that has not had a story. And the thing about the stories for the commanders is that they then feed into the world.
Yes.
Nixilis got an origin story for Commander 15. That was incredible. Like we now actually know where he came from.
He was a human.
Yeah, precisely.
He was a human. I would have never known.
You're right. I always thought he was a demon. I had literally no idea about, because all of the stuff about him having like a hedron in his skull and stuff like that, that was in the Zendikar books, which I never read. So all I knew him as, it was like just this random demon. And then you get the origin story of him, which is like, oh, wait a minute, he has a backstory. He, like, you can see his armor is what his demon form turns into. Yeah. So obviously there's some kind of transformation there. Like his helmet is the same shape as the Obnixus that we know's skull. If you look back on the art for it, where he's holding it, like that kind of stuff is really, really interesting. As well, like the engravings on the armor of the chest thing, where you have the little like ruby in the middle, they're the same on his skin. So obviously he's been transformed in some capacity. But a lot of the stuff you just wouldn't know without the free story articles. I wouldn't have known that unless I specifically went to look for Obnixilus's Wikipedia. Because frankly, up until that point, I didn't really care that much about him as a character. Yeah. And then as soon as you find that out,
he's a character that got a card in M15, got a card in Zendikar, and that was it. That's all I knew about him.
Absolutely, no, completely. And now he's one of like the multiverse's antagonists, and I love that. I really do. But it's all because of the story articles. Like think about the Raven Man, like a character that has never gotten a card, never mentioned in any flavor text, and yet he's a fan favorite villain for a huge amount of Magic the Gathering players, and people are desperate to see what is going to happen with his story. We wouldn't have got that if it hadn't been for the free story articles.
Yeah,
because he's never been on a card, never been in either a piece of flavor text, never even been on like promo art in any capacity.
I don't even know if he actually even has an art for him, unfortunately. Well, I think there might be one.
And there's one piece of art that keeps popping up, which is, I think, I can't remember who did it. I can't remember off the top of my head who did it, but it's a very beautiful piece of art. But there's fan speculation about, is he Urza? Is he Leshak? Or is that right?
Leshrak.
Leshrak, thank you. Is he Leshrak? Is he Limdul? Who is this character? Is he Emrakul? Like stuff like that. But we wouldn't have had that without the free story articles, because he didn't appear in any other piece of fiction.
Nope.
And it's a shame that we're not going to get that anymore. And plus, I don't trust whoever it is that Nick Kelman decides to write the eventual Raven Man
Euro
story.
Goof Troop, write this book.
I heard you were a lead producer on the Goofy movie. Here, we need 3 novels by sundown.
That is
It's
not a stab
really-
at Goof Troop. That is literally just the first thing that came to my head. It's before I get roasted
We
in
love
the
Goof
comments.
Troop, yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say
Goof
before I
Troop.
get roasted in the comments. So,
Yeah.
Spring Mista asked a question about like angels. He goes, "There's been red, white angels for a while. How about white splashing for other colors, like zombie angels, druid angels, stuff like that, like an angel wizard or something? That'd be cool to me. I would love to see more creature types, just because adding to a creature type doesn't lessen what it is; it actually adds more.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. Like I loved is it Tiana, Ship's Caretaker?
Yes.
Yeah. Like Angel Artificer.
Yeah.
Super interesting. I know pardon me, I know we had a couple of Angel Artificers in Khaled. Actually I don't know if we had an Angel
No.
Artificer in Khaled.
I don't think
I know
so.
we
I
had
think we're just
Angels that
angels.
had Fabricate.
Yes.
Yeah. But I don't know if we had an Angel Artificer, so she's the first Angel Artificer. That kind of stuff. I love that. I absolutely adore like that angle of things where you take what is traditionally for angels, like traditionally are like the warrior characters,
Yes.
soldier characters in pretty much everything that they've been in. They're either caretakers of mortals or like effectively winged crusaders.
Yeah.
And then you get this last with overalls and a wrench. And it's just an angel inexplicably.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff I absolutely love. I love it when I love seeing for example, one of my favorite ideas or like tropes is minotaurs who aren't just violent creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Zedru.
which is why, Zedru. The fact that he's a minotaur is like this is a really fresh take on this character.
I'm going to correct you before the lore people do. Zedru's a she.
Oh, thank you very much. I did not know that.
Yeah.
If only we had some free story articles that could have maybe told me.
that kills me too. If like they could have went back and did it for those two, that would have been great. Because I would love to know where Animage from. I would love to know where well, they think Carador's from
like...
people think Carador's from Theros. I'm like, he does not look like any centaur from Theros.
Carador? Who's Carador?
The Ghost Chieftain.
Oh, the Ghost Chieftain. Oh,
they
yeah,
think
no,
he's from
not...
Theros.
No.
Yeah, they're like, he doesn't look any Therosian centaur at all.
Neither a Therosian centaur nor a Therosian spirit. He's got two creature types and he fails on both of them.
Yeah.
I think I get like Chandelier vibes from Animar.
Yes.
Couldn't tell you where Zedru's from though. Have no idea where she could be from.
And
that's
they
what
mention
I love.
They mention Rowan of the Fomori, Ruhan of the Fomori. He's from Io, I believe is the plane. I believe that's what it is. It's just a land of giants.
Oh,
just a land of giants, and they're always at war.
Oh, hang on, this isn't Ikoria. This is Iroria.
I think it's Io. I don't remember anymore. But
There's...
like, he is from a specific plane that is literally just giants. Also, the Fomori have been referenced in Future Sight, so eventually we'll go there.
They had like a
full art textless card for a giant.
Yes,
of the
the red one, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Like that kind of stuff I absolutely love. Like little nibbles of content. So little nibbles of like story that we can then eventually go on and find out more about in articles and the like. I really, really enjoy that kind of stuff. And it is again, it's a real shame that with the breadth of the story that we weren't just getting story about the core, as you said, like we weren't just getting the core story through the story articles. We were getting little bits of backstory about individual legendary creatures throughout Magic's history and supplemental products. But we were also getting reprints of old stories from places that we wouldn't have been able to find them before, like Felden's story, which was only found within like a 1999 Magic almanac that they then reposted onto the actual mothership to go, hey, there's this character. Maybe you want to read about what he's all about. Like you had like even just little updates. I remember in the middle of, I believe it was between Dragons of Tarkia and whatever the next set was that came out. I think it was Zendikar, Battle for Zendikar. Was that one? Dragons then Battle. Was that how it went?
Dragons then Battle, yes. I believe
Yeah.
It was Dragons and Origins then Battle, I believe, but yes.
Thank you. Between one of them, sometime between Dragons and Battle, somewhere between there, like maybe it was before or after Origins, I don't know. But there was just a random story article called Project Lightning Bug, which then foreshadowed. Yeah.
Oh my
which
god,
then
Project Lightning Bug was so well written.
Yeah, it was excellent. It was and everyone was like, "Wait a minute. Well, we're going back to Ravnica at some point, obviously, when this story coming out."
And it mentions that Vraska's left and that all that other stuff, and
yeah, sets up Ixalan, sets up War of the Spark. It was just a random story article for a set that wouldn't be released for another like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And we no longer get that because everything is either in a book you have to pay for, in which case they're not going to have like these little short stories attached to it. It's either going to be in a book you have to pay for, it's going to be in some mailing list that you have to sign up for, and you have to read the story in fucking yahoo.com, which nobody wants to do. Or it's going to be...
I mean, you're not wrong,
like,
though.
I'm glad that gag landed. Or it's going to be on the mothership in the form of a short story, much as Brandon Sanderson's Child of the Nameless were. But the entire reason that that's on the mothership for free is because Sanderson worked for free. He didn't get paid to write that story. He promise that Wizards wouldn't monetize the story and it would go up for free on the site. And if it was ever printed physically, all the money would go to charity. So, like, unless the authors now are specifically saying, please let the people read my work for free, like, it's not going to happen, which is deeply, deeply upsetting, frankly. Especially seeing as, Brandon Sanderson, incredible author, and probably the best piece of writing to come out, in fact, not probably, the best piece of writing to come out of Kelman's tenure. And it's not because they fostered a great community of like writers within Wizards of the Coast. It's because they've just gotten Brandon Sanderson, who's a really good writer anyway, to write a Magic the Gathering story.
Yeah.
This is a thing that really frustrates me about the idea that we want Magic story to have the same reputation as its art. And it's like, well, the reason why the art has a great reputation is because you managed to combine all of these incredible artists for Wizards of the Coast and have repeatedly given them jobs producing artwork for you, to the point where like lots of them have produced, 20, 30, some probably even like hundreds of pieces of artwork. You have like a reputation, you have this sort of dialogue, this relationship with hundreds and thousands potentially of artists.
Yeah.
Whereas the story, you had dozens of little writers who people were growing to love, and now you scrap them all to like randomly pluck 1 or 2 big names once a quarter to write a piece of fiction. Sometimes it will be massively biphobic as well.
Yeah.
So like it's not. It's the Kelman saying that he wants.
This is my opinion. Those books do not exist. Fight me.
Yeah. I honestly, War the Spark isn't canon in my head, because, like, this is the thing as well. Imagine you played the game, right? Imagine you're playing the game and you really like a character. Let's say randomly Dovin Barn, all right?
Yeah.
And then you hear everyone saying how crap War the Spark is. It's biphobic. It's poorly written. What was it? Ajani looked at her with his leonine smile or whatever. Smiled his leonine smile.
Yeah.
And you decide, you know what? I'm not going to read that book. It's not attached to a set or anything like that. Probably nothing important happens in it anyway. You miss out on the Kaya's homeworld, the fact that Kaya can now transport people via planeswalking, the fact that Rat is like a Demir sleeper agent, and the fact that Dovin Barn is dead. We never get to see Dovin Barn get killed. Anyone who then plays the game will never see Dovin Barn die. People might be asking, much as I was when I first started playing the game, like, oh, what happened to Elspeth at the end of the story? Because there were no story articles that showed that, unless you read the books.
Unless you read the books, or you watched the one thing that Magic posted, which was all 3 of the trailers for the set in one video, and at the end it showed Elspeth's death mask, and that is it. Yeah,
which I didn't see until like halfway, probably after Fate Reforged dropped.
Yeah.
I didn't find out that Elspeth had died for at least 2 sets because it just wasn't accessible.
Wasn't there. Yeah, that's fair.
And it's, you know what, I could have gone my entire life without having to know that like Elspeth and Daxos were like pally, were in love or whatever. Like, that's fine. I'm okay with missing out.
I would never know. I mean, I still didn't know about that until quite literally like the set. So.
Oh gee, yeah, like a massive motivation, and the fact that he'd even been killed by Elspeth.
Elspeth, I didn't know that part either. I saw him in the commander set and saw he was a return. It was like, the fuck?
And this is why the story articles matter so much for that intangible accessibility, because from Khans of Tarkir to Ixalan, everybody knew exactly what the story was what was happening in the story, even if
every
never
Wednesday,
read the story
man,
article.
every freaking Wednesday.
Even if they didn't like log in every Wednesday, even if they caught one or two or even none, you can still look at the set and go, I have like 80% of the pieces here. I know what the story is. And you'd probably be right for the vast majority of it, because the cohesiveness between the story and the cards was so good.
Yes.
And now you get to War of the Spark and you go, well, obviously Angrath is a villain and the Chainveil is now destroyed.
Thank you for mentioning the Angrath as a villain. Oh my god. Because
I love Mara, I really, really do. But the fact that he had to come out with a blog post and say, oh no, actually the fact that he has a mass is because he can like control the Eternals and not because he's actually on Bolus's side, is like, there are about 68 other ways you could have shown that. And also the fact that you've had to like come out and say something that was never shown in the novel. He's never shown wrangling an Eternal in the novel at all. He's only shown destroying them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the fact that we now have like effectively 3 bits of canon, which is he looks like he's on Bolus's side. He's definitely not on Bolus's side. He wrangles Eternals. Like, those are 3 different things. The incohesiveness.
Also, that's very cowist of Morrow to say that he wrangles cows. Jesus Christ.
How dare you? And I thought Magic the Gathering was a mammal-centric game. But yeah, like,
where's my echidnas?
Where are they? Where are my specific bird breeds? That's what I want to know. We have stoats, we have ferrets, we have weasels. Where are my magpies subtype? Curse you, Mark Russell.
Yes.
And your great game that I enjoy.
The Angrath thing really upsets me because he's actively a good character.
I love Angrath.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like, if you didn't read any of the books about Ixalan, and if you didn't read any of the story about Ixalan, and if you just went in by what Angrath the Planeswalker does, and the fact that he's red-black aligned, and then you go to War of the Spark, where he is amassing creatures, where he is amassing as a mechanic, you just assume that he's bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And like in all fairness, for the majority of Ixalan's story, he is he's not like a hero character or anything like that.
Yeah.
But he was also a minor character to the point of like we never see him do anything bad in any of the card art. We only see a red-black Minotaur creature.
And then when you come from Theros, seeing Mogus and all the red-black Minotaurs just being basically mindless killing machines, as is the Greco-Roman stereotype about Minotaurs.
Yes.
It's kind of
stop Minotaur stereotyping.
Exactly.
Now.
It's
2020.
Agree. We need more good Minotaur characters. And someone asked good red-black characters. You know, that's not as easy as we think it is, but there are some. And if I will find you on Twitter and I will start naming them. But Angrath is one of them. Angrath is a good blind red-black character. I would say Doretti. Ingenious Iconoclast.
Doretti the Iconoclast. I love Doretti. Like the idea of an Iconoclast in this establishment of elitist artificers. I think that's choice.
Oh, yeah.
That's.
I love that Revenge doesn't get past him. He's just like, oh, I could be the better person, but why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of energy I really want to see more stories taking. Is like asking, well, you know, I could be the bigger man and, you know, suck it up, and I could be like, okay, you've wronged me, but I will now like be resolute and I will forgive you. And instead asking, but if I forgive you, you're just gonna do it again.
Yeah.
Like, and so Doretti coming back to this plane that has discriminated against him racially, that kicked him out, and that is now like again racially discriminating against his goblin kind, and going, I have the power to forgive you and to hope that you'll change. Or I could burn you down and replace you with something better. Yeah. Like
I could right this wrong. And
precisely, he's taking a direct action. We have to stand a revolutionary goblin.
Yeah.
But like, so Doretti, not Mogus, sorry. What do you call it? Angrath. Who other like any other red? I mean, like you've got Hikara, who wasn't actually on a card, but like would have been a red black aligned character.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think now. There are
Xancha was a sleeper agent for the Phyrexians and then turned on the Phyrexians.
Yes, no, Xancha absolutely. No, Xancha absolutely is a good character.
Yeah.
I can't think of any off the top of my head right now.
I think there might be another one I'm thinking of. I'm trying to remember. Garna, the Blood Flamed. I mean, I guess she's kind of good, but she's also inherently hates elves. So I believe.
Yeah, she's dead ass a racist.
So like, I was like, oh, she's kind of cool, and then I realized no, she hates elves. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't hate elves and be a good guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
just like you can't hate goblins and be a good guy. I'm speaking about you, Nissa, and all Lorwyn elves.
The fact that, you know what, there's one thing I'm really glad about, like, this is the other thing. The free story team managed to right so many wrongs that will put weird, whack-ass character flaws.
Yes.
Like, the fact that when we first see Nissa, she's like an elf supremacist.
Yup.
Yeah, and then we take that character and we give her to like the in-house creative writing team, and they go, okay, let's not do that anymore because that's garbage. Let's make her into
That's a horrible trope that we do in fantasy, and it's outplayed and outdated.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the way that the story team the story team had also developed the Chandra and Nissa relationship as well. Yes, never showed it. They'd never showed it explicitly, but there were several writers
that were in the in-house team that were like, yes, no, this was very much a planned thing that we were trying to do.
Yeah, and then
Nick Kelman.
And then
this is my view, and that this does not reflect Spice8Rack anyway. But fuck Nick Kelman and fire him, please. I hate him.
This is my view, and this does not reflect decidedly Ugin in any way. But fuck Nick Kelman and fire him, please.
They need to just restructure their whole story team again. They just need to go back to what they were doing, and I don't know how we as viewers are supposed to. I mean, we've already said it. Multiple people, people like Michelle from the Lorgoys, people like Lorelai from Vorthos Cast. All of them are just like, this has just all been bad. Why are we keep doing this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, hang on. Do you want to know the secret?
What?
Money.
Yeah.
There we go. You can't get money off of free story articles.
Yeah.
Might as well make them paid story articles.
So
it's whack.
I make this joke a lot, and it's gonna happen again here.
My favorite character is Karn because he's probably the only active representation of asexual characters in Magic besides Urza, but Urza's a fucking idiot and I hate him. He is the actual bad guy, and if you say he's the hero, you are wrong.
Yep.
He's the root of all
Correct.
problems. And I am scared Nick Kelman's going to give my robot friend a penis, and then he's going to want to fuck something.
No. Let Khan be ace in peace, you coward. No, God.
It's just like someone's going to stare at him sexually, and it's going to be not okay.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very telling, and this is more a reflection on Weissman as opposed to Kelman. But I think it's very telling that in War of the Spark, he makes Ral and Tomek gay, as sort of like just. I don't think that had been like established before that Ral was gay, and I liked it. I was very here for it.
If you notice, Ral has Tomek's cloth on as in the art, and Tomek has Ral's.
Yes, no, I did notice that,
Yeah.
but like I think that hadn't been foreshadowed at all before in previous stories.
Oh no!
I think maybe they made. Yeah, I think
this was very much I believe a War of the Spark, established War of the Spark,
which is super super cool. I'm really here for it, but I think it speaks volumes of the fact that like Kelman and the story team at that point went, okay, let's make him gay, and then in the very next book, Kelman was like, okay, you know these gay characters that we've been, or like, at least bi characters that we've been like building up to, straight, because you've got like effectively the work has been put in for these characters, to have this relationship.
Yes,
but it's too much work to make like a convincing and like well-rounded a gay relationship happen in a novel. Whereas
Or
we can easily
any
just make
well-rounded relationship. Apparently, no successful relationship can be successful in a novel. These novels, because you have to throw a wrench into something all the time.
I was so frustrated with how Jason Vraska ended
right?
up. And like Vraska goes, hey, but by the way, you know all of that time we spent together on Ixalan and like you made me a better person? Yeah, I like stopped doing that the moment you like left. And I had my memory the whole time, by the way. I still did a bad thing, like a horrible thing that potentially caused like a lot of people to die. And Jason's like, we'll deal with it later. It's like,
That's a future Jace problem, honey.
Whoa! I want to roll that one back a moment there. Later you might be dead. Maybe have this conversation now. And then they kiss at the end, and it's like, I know that.
And then, like in the Jace's back of his head, he's just like, "Nope, this isn't gonna work."
I don't want to give Weissman any credit for this, but like the charitable reading of that is like, oh, it's a representation for, because he's been so gaslit by Liliana, he's now willing to like be like effectively like being taken advantage of in any relationship. You could have angled that maybe, but that would require good writing and
also a good story direction from a good actual story person.
Yeah.
Fuck Nick Kelman.
Oh, good times. We've gone on a tangent.
Well, I mean, this has just been a great tangent, though.
You'll hear more about this in the video that's coming out this week.
This is
great. Not this week. This month.
This is great. You heard it here first. It's coming out next week.
No, it's not. It's not. If you clip that, I'll fight you.
No, it's coming out this month. If you can, could you give us the title of it?
I can. I'm working on the title at the moment.
Okay.
But the working title is currently accessibility and entertainment : Bioshock, spoken word, Theros Beyond Death, and the Chilcott Report.
Yes.
Which might be a bit too long for the older algorithm, so we'll have to go with.
Good news is if you watch, so I guess it's not mill versus discard. It says Sharp Chivers.
Sharp, god damn it! Listen, you get that one because you designed me really, really bloody nice emotes for my Twitch, and you're also a really cool person. But yeah, no, like it's Mill versus Discard. I really want to get that out this year. I have an idea for it. I'm not going to talk about the idea for it, but I have an idea for it, and it's potentially going to be a very experimental piece. That's all I'll say.
Speaking of experimental piece, let's talk about your video on eugenics.
Sure. More than happy.
What was your driving force for that? Little bit of a disclaimer. This is probably one of my favorite videos he's ever done. It hits home really hard. It's very well written. There's so much that comes from that video that is like true till this day. Because it's very much reflects what happens in the South. There's a lot of people who say in the South will talk about, well, that person's gotten smarts, so why is that person with that dumb person? Little do they know that they're slightly flirting with eugenics, and that it's a situation where it doesn't matter if one person's smart and one person's dumb. Doesn't mean that baby's going to be mediocre. It doesn't. None of that matters. But people down here talk
just to quickly
like
jump in here. We get that. I get that a lot into like England as well, where like you hear people talking about all these dumb people allowed to vote. Like there should be like a test you have to take before you vote.
Yep.
And it's like,
actual parts of the South. Actual parts of the South that was actually enforced in the 1800s.
Yep, still was. Wow, we have it good right now, and you wouldn't think it. But sorry, do go on.
So, what was the driving force behind? Like,
I'm massively inspired by leftist creators online. As I mentioned before, H Bomber Guy, Philosophy Tube, Let's Talk About Stuff, Peter Coffin, the Surfs, who I've actually been on the Surf stream not too long ago, and I helped them do some research for a debate they did with a Scottish progressive, who I won't give the air from my lungs in this moment. But
fuck that guy. I don't even know who he is.
You know, it's fine. He's a nasty piece of work. But regardless, I'm very inspired by leftist creators, and also inspired by the idea that art and entertainment mean something, and they can very much influence how people think entertainment is the greatest propaganda tool in the world. There
Free
is no
thinking is
better
dead
way
in some
to-
places, but yeah. So yes, yeah. The
what
ability
was
to
that,
have
sorry?
the ability to have free thought is kind of dead in some places. So yes, thanks to
Yeah,
media.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like the way that you move the Overton window isn't through politicians making grandstanding speeches. The Overton window is, for those who aren't potentially aware, is the sort of metaphorical window of what is considered to be acceptable rhetoric within any given time period. So, like, as more people speak, like far, far, far to the right, and massive anti-immigration stuff, like Islamophobia, etc., the Overton window then shifts towards that, and you've got people on the far left talking about massive wealth redistribution and sort of egalitarian human rights. The Overton window then shifts more towards the left. So that's what the Overton window is. And entertainment plays a great role in that because you have people pushing the boundaries on the right and the left, trying to shift it a little bit hither and thither in places like Hollywood, on platforms like YouTube, and through mediums like Twitch as well. Entertainment matters a lot, and that's what I see my stuff as entertainment that hopefully informs and also hopefully can assist in, at least in individual heads, shifting that window a wee bit more to the left. And so with eugenics, I wanted to talk about Yorgmoth. The driving force, weirdly enough, was someone just saying that, hey, this card looks a bit like Spice8Rack.
Yeah.
And I think I quote tweeted that saying, if I made like an hour-long video about how eugenics is whack whilst cosplaying as Yorgmoth, would you watch? And it was my most liked tweet at that time. So I went, you know what, balls to it, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And I thought, I honestly thought it would be like a half an hour thing. I thought, like, I know what eugenics is. I know it's whack, it's stupid. I could easily debunk that. And then I thought, I might as well put a bit of research in. I'll get like 1 or 2 books on it. And then it turned into an hour because holy crap, there's a lot. There was a lot that I needed to talk about.
A lot of stupid was believed back then. So yeah. Well, and today, but back then.
And
much.
today.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. But I also wanted to. I think the main thing I wanted to talk about eugenics, but I was also not entirely sure about where I stood within, like, what's my brand? Can I just make a video about eugenics? And if I'm going to cosplay as Yorgmoth, is that just like, hey, I want to make a thing about this subject, but I'm aware that, like, my audience is Magic the Gathering based, so I'm just going to, like, pay lip service to the game. So I then decided, no, I'm going to use the framing mechanism of Yorgmoth's story, Yorgmoth's origin story, as a medium to discuss eugenics. And thankfully, there are many points within that story that you can actually go, okay, here, this event, I could use this as a jumping off point to discuss, for example, I think, like, when he starts putting people into the colony underneath Halcyon,
Yeah.
I then use that as a jumping off point to talk about people institutionalizing other people for feeble-mindedness and other pseudoscientific terms. So that became like a project for me, and it was the most research video that I've ever done because I wanted to get it right. I knew that I didn't want this to be like this is the video I released this month. I wanted this to be the video. I wanted to make sure that I got everything right, that I wasn't misrepresenting, that I didn't accidentally play into any or miss any important arguments. And then, like, 3 months later, I think Sean, another massive influence of mine and also a fantastic YouTuber, put out a 2-hour video about eugenics, specifically about IQ and how it's the pseudoscientific nature of that. It's literally like, it might even be like 2.5 hours long, but it is phenomenal. It is surgical, I think is the best way to describe it. Sean is one of the best YouTubers on the platform, in my opinion. If you haven't already looked him up, he has incredible content. He's also got a great one that I think is pertinent to Magic the Gathering and sort of like a gaming community, but he's got one about women in chess and about sort of like attacking a lot of the right-wing regressive points around, like, oh, women are biologically predetermined to not be able to play chess as well as a man, like stuff like that, and then going in on that and going, well, actually, that's a fucking lie.
Yeah. For any of those
like
who
that,
don't know, IQ is a completely bullshit stat, and the person who invented IQ even admitted so.
Yep. He, like, the person who invented IQ literally said, this should not be used as a measure for intelligence. This should just be used as a metric to help teachers decide if a child needs like special attention in a classroom. And that was back in like the 19th, like early 20th century.
Yep.
And since then it has been like, I think, what was it that Sean said? Like ever since, so Franz said this about IQ. And ever since then, he has been spinning in his grave by how his how his like metric has been used to effectively discriminate against black people, Jewish people, women,
or just used in general as to tell someone that they're dumb. Basically,
Yeah.
like it's been used as like, oh, you must not have a high IQ, and I'm just like, are we really using this as an insult? Do you actually even know what the IQ actually really is? Like, it's the amount of times now that IQ has been thrown out as if it's some sort of actual like factual stat. Is scary. Is for lack of better words.
I agree. And this is why I'm really happy. I'm not sure why I'm holding the plant. This is why I'm really like happy and glad for, and in fact engage in. Sorry, it's
No, that was really good, and I love it.
I have a really, really nice like Wii setup here of like I've been trying to like spruce up my desk with like lots of plants to make like air the room and make it feel nice. Yeah. I've got like nice succulents.
Oh, look at that.
Hang on, I can angle this up here. I've got like a fern.
Oh, it's a fern. My girlfriend loves ferns, and she's currently in chat, so she's probably gonna love seeing that.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, she's got an asparagus fern.
Hang on, what do I call this one? 1 second. We've named all of our plants. This is
boy.
Delilah.
That's Delilah. Okay.
That's Delilah the fern. We've got Billy Bob up there. We've got baby Yoda.
Baby and Yoda? Two different ones?
We've got baby and Yoda. Which we're very happy about. But yeah, so what was I saying about? Oh yeah, like this is why I engage in like the memory rhetoric when it comes to like things like IQ, and like in stream like jokingly saying, oh, that's the high IQ play when I get like destroyed in a game. Because it should be taken as, it should be utilized and thrown back in this idea that like, oh, IQ is somehow a decent metric to like measure intelligence, and then go look at this high IQ play and then misclick several times on my like ginger brute triggers and lose the game immediately. Like high IQ, big brain, like that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, there are still like times when people like the whole idea of like measuring one's skull.
Phrenology, yeah.
Yeah, phrenology, which like whack in of itself, but it's literally like people who use calipers to measure people's skulls are going, how big is your skull? How big is the capacity for your brain? Because the bigger your brain is, the smarter you are. That was literally the ethos. That is the ethos behind phrenology. Is the bigger your brain, the smarter, the bigger thoughts you can have.
I have a rather large head. There ain't shit in between these fucking ears, though.
I have a huge skull. It echoes.
It actually does.
Oh no, that sounds like hell.
Yeah. So yeah, like, it's just a dense head. I just have big bone density, so I actually have a rather large skull. Doesn't mean that there's room in there for more brain. It just means that there's a thicker skull.
Dad says it's my turn on the brain cell now. But yeah, like that was the vibe. The reason I want to put that video out, and the reason why I do put videos out, is because I want to entertain. That's my primary function. Is an entertainer, but I also do want to help open people's eyes to different ideas that maybe they may not come across if they're only watching Magic the Gathering videos, or only watching like gameplay videos and the like. I really do want to not like trick people into like learning, but to present like a way of finding out about the world in an accessible way, freely available online, in order so that people can maybe like be exposed and access ideas that they maybe hadn't before, and also to act as an antidote against the regressive voices within the
Magic community,
the gaming community, and the Magic community, which like honestly it's kind of not baffling. I know why it's not baffling, but it is frustrating that when a regressive makes a video about, so like, oh, they've replaced.
Social justice warriors are ruining my game.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
like,
no,
that's
I am not afraid to say those words because
Yeah.
Fuck those
I'm a-
words.
Fuck those words, indeed. But like, when people make those videos, those aren't political videos. Those are like, outrage videos. Those because something
they're
outrageous
not
has
political
happened.
videos.
Yeah, and then as soon as someone makes a sort of more left-wing political point in the video, suddenly that's a political
Yes.
statement. So that's also something I'm trying to rile against, trying to present the idea that
That's
hey,
kind of what this is also for. It's also just to be like,
Hey,
Yeah.
there's women and people of different gender orientations and all that other stuff in this game, and maybe you should listen to them because they have a lot of valuable things to say.
precisely.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much my shtick. I'm I'm an entertainer who attempts to also educate people into the ills of regressiveness. That's my thing.
That was fine. The other thing I wanted to mention was you're basically just the edgy version of the Magic the Gathering school bus, and you're just Miss Frizzle.
Magic the Gathering school bus?
Yeah,
What?
you're just
Hang on.
teaching people while also just being very fun and
Oh.
fun and edgy.
Oh, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
here for that. I don't consider myself. Am I really?
no,
that
and I don't
edgy?
think you're that edgy. But I was just like using the word edgy because it's a buzzword.
No, that's fair. I mean, I do. I mean, I have made some pretty I have made some pretty explicit. Hey, maybe we should forcibly redistribute wealth jokes before, and they're not really jokes.
No, they're
but,
not.
like,
That's the fun.
No, they're
that's
not.
the joke.
I would really like to live in a world where we don't all die in 20 years.
Exactly.
That
I
would
would
be-
like to have maybe a kid and have him not or them not fuck everything
what a
up.
time! What a time that could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'm a wee bit more. I guess because I'm a lot more explicit with my politics. And I make explicitly political content as opposed to just having politics be something that I bring up every now and again in a completely unrelated video. I guess that makes me a wee bit more edgy than potentially other content creators on the platform. But I'm okay
You are
with it.
probably the least edgy left-leaning person I know.
Yeah, I don't worry.
And
I'm aware.
because it's only because the amount of edgy left-leaning people is very small. Because the word edge implies that there's some sort of sharpness and or I don't know, I would some sort of sharpness and cutting where you're just actually just saying the truth. And while that is also could be very cutting and stuff, it's not. It's just what people should be saying and aren't.
Well, I think that's the other thing is I do want to promote the idea that hey, maybe you too can come out and just say this kind of stuff. I'm doing it. I have a channel. I have a sponsorship.
Yeah.
I'm not blacklisted from events.
A
because of the
very
stuff
good
I'm saying.
sponsorship, if I may.
Yeah, very I'm incredibly lucky. But I also want to promote the idea that hey, you too can come out and say this stuff, and also potentially reaching people that are, other left-leaning creators can't because they're not within this very niche interest group. I have had emails before and Twitter DMs, which I love. I love getting these because they're people who have said, hey, I've tried to show I think one that comes off the top of my head. I've been trying to show my brother Philosophy Tube for the last year. I keep sending him videos. He never watches them. Last week he sent me your eugenics video and said this is really good. Thank you. And because then that you get into left-leaning stuff through me, you then get into left-leaning stuff through more left-leaning stuff, more coherent left-leaning stuff.
You listen to H Bomber Guy's climate change rebuttal. It's amazing also. Because it
fantastic.
references the South. It's really funny because one unnamed short man who's got a very high voice that does a podcast that I will not mention because fuck that guy. I've used that word a lot today and I'm happy.
That's all right.
Yeah. He talked about, well, what if the South goes underwater? Are they just going to sell their houses? And H Bomber Guy's response is, to who? Fucking Aquaman?
Not only that, but he
Breaks
through
down a
the
wall.
set
He goes
with fire axe.
with a fire axe and smashes through a wall and goes, to who? Ben? Fucking Aquaman? And it is, I lose my shit every time because as someone who lives in the South and is 6 feet below sea level, I believe, yeah, it's quite terrifying the fact that water
That's
levels
not
are
very
actually
big
actively
shoes.
factually rising still. Climate change is real. Suck a dick if you don't think it is.
Boo. We have a bad time, but
Yeah.
but we have a good time here.
Yeah,
for
we
now.
have a great time here. So can we talk about what goes into a single video of yours? Because obviously it's a lot more than just 40 minutes. It's probably more like 2 or 3 hours of actual video. But then gets cuts down to about 40 minutes.
Aye. Oh god. So like, I mean, the eugenics one was the big one. I researched that for 2 months, and I spent a month writing, whilst I was researching as well, because I realized like if I didn't overlap with writing and the research, it would take 3 months to come out. I'm also just going to change this filter because it keeps flicking, and
You want to be a ghost?
now I look like a ghost. But
Well, there's
but
the
at
other
least it's
ghost
gonna
one.
be-
Isn't there that other
at
ghost
least it's
filter
gonna
we
be
can do?
consistent. Oh yeah, and I forgot
Yeah,
I
there-
have different filters.
Yeah, boom, ghost.
Ooh, edgy. Oh, too edgy. All right. So, I think like the videos that I make, the Eugenics one took a long time. But most of them are about like it takes me about a month to research and write a video. In that I'll usually pick a subject the month before, and then I spend that month going, all right, how am I gonna say this? Getting a bunch of sources. Writing the script takes a really long time as well because I want to make sure that everything's right before I send it to workshopping. Then I send it to workshopping, send it to a couple of my pals, and ask, is this all right? I also give it to my patrons as well. That's one of the if I could plug my patrons.
Speaking of which, yes, patreon.com/Spice8Rack.
It's true. The rumors are true. But for my $10 patrons, they get access to things like my videos early, but they also get my scripts. So I send them a script as soon as it's done, and I go, yo, what do you guys think of this? And then usually they'll send me a wee bit of feedback. Like I think with the last one, the most electable one, I got feedback from Leftist Tech Support, one of my patrons.
Shark
About,
Chabbers in chat saying, "Come hang out in the Patreon Discord. Discord is great."
Oh yeah, it's true. Thank you, Sharp. You know what? You get an additional Mill versus Discard meme because of that. Thanks for the plug. But yeah, it is great. But I think Leftist then. So yes, that was it. I had a gag, well not a gag, but a fact in the video about how the US has seen a decade of wage stagnation. And then they came back to me and said, yo, it's actually more like half a century. And I was
Yes.
like, pardon?
There
And
is
then
a
you
chart
look-
of how long we've been in war, and it's basically...
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah, there's
like
that one too.
that stuff is... Ooh, hate that for you and also us, I guess.
Yeah.
But the wage stagnation thing, you look at the chart of that and the federal minimum wage is almost exactly where it is now in terms of nominal fees, not like the real fee because that's obviously gone up. But if you adjust for inflation, the federal minimum wage is the same as it is today as it was in the 70s. If not
Minimum wage down here is $7.25.
Hang on, what? That's like £6 here in England.
Yeah.
Good lord.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
The amount of states that you can actually live off minimum wage is like 2 out of 50.
Yeah, no, because that's not livable. Jesus Christ. Yeah, minimum wage here in England is what I think $7.50 if you're 16. I think it goes up to 8. I can't remember off the top of my head. Thankfully, it's been a year since I've been working minimum wage. Thank you to this channel for that.
Woo.
Which is very, very nice.
YouTube.com/Spice8Rack.
Yeah, baby. Come watch me. I'll talk to you.
Also twitch.tv/Spice8Rack.
Oh yes. I also do Twitch. I'm gonna actually be streaming tomorrow as well. I haven't streamed for a little bit.
Plug in my guests' stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, the work that goes into the videos, it does depend. Sometimes it's a lot of work. The audiobook speedruns take almost no time to write. It takes me maybe 2 or 3 days to write that speedrun. 1 day to send it off for workshopping, 1 day to get back, work on the jokes. All of it's just in the editing because I have to move it's tedious work because it's every single sentence has at least 1 or 2 sight gags in it, so I've got to move JPEGs around the screen. All the slideshow stuff is so laborious to edit, but I love it. I do love doing it, and I love the result of it. But then you've got things like the cats video, which I think I I didn't write it. It was all just off the cuff. I recorded it on a Wednesday, mastered the audio and put it into a Premiere file on a Tuesday. Downloaded all the stuff for it, like the trailer in the background on that Wednesday. Edited it all on the Thursday in what I can only describe as some flavor of demonic possession. I started at 9 a.m. I finished at 9 p.m. I edited the entire video, fiddled around with like the copyright law on the Friday, and then uploaded it on the Saturday or something like that.
And that's the tale of Solomon Grundy.
Yes, it is. I'm a Sam Rambo. I got married and then died, and then Cats was watched. But yeah, that video is now one of the most popular of my channel. It's, I think, my third most viewed video of all time, which is super cool. But it's also super cool putting that out there and saying, hey, people are willing and able and wanting to watch me not just do Magic the Gathering content, which is useful for the future. If I want to do something much like I'm doing now with this month, which I'm actually going to be talking a lot about Bioshock, the original Bioshock, and also a lot about spoken word, the genre. So, and also a bit about the Chilcott Report, which, again, not sure how that happened, but it did. So, like, it's nice to know that the audience that I have and also the audience potentially I can gain aren't just here because I'm the one person giving the Magic the Gathering lore, when there are many, many others out there doing it, and I'm going to plug a lot of them in this video because I really want to use my platform to like help like boost people that potentially aren't getting the views that they frankly deserve.
That's the thing that's coming around right now, is because of the way lore's going. A lot of lore-based podcasts like the Lore Goifs and stuff like that are basically putting out polls being like, hey, our viewership's down. Is there anything we can do to get it up at this point? Because we don't have any lore to talk about, so it's a little bit harder for us to actually do things. So
yeah,
it's hard to see it because like these people are also my friends, so it's just like, what am I like? And again, it comes back to the whole what would we money obviously as the end game, but like how much complaining has to be done. And as much as I hate using the word complaining because it's such a weird word, because it comes off negative, because even though it's not, how much complaining has to be done to actually see any kind of change with the payment plan or the lore story going forward? Because I would much rather like to see the ways that it used to be. Obviously, I'm not old man screaming at cloud this time. I just think that we have a lot better of a plan when we had a lot of people in-house knowing what was going on. Also, shout out to Allison Lurs for just being an amazing person and also amazing writer, because she was great.
I love it. Allison was she was the one that wrote the Ixalan story.
Yes.
Right? Yes, she is phenomenal.
Yes.
And
then they took that Jace and threw him out the fucking window.
Oh, I love this character development. Anyway, so
Yoda, no.
No, that was a fake plant. These are fake. These are Ikeas. Don't worry, I'm not going to throw an actual succulent. Are you... What? No, I'm not going to throw my actual plants just across my shoulder. Good lord.
I didn't know Ikea sold fake plants, because we don't have an Ikea around here. Below sea level, it'd probably sink.
Like, you can build a boat very easily, provided you've got an Allen key or two.
I've got
Ikea humor. There we go. Getting in.
The Torbjorn, the chair. So, fun fact for people who might not know this. Last year, in August, Spice8Rack went to Vegas for Magic Fest Vegas. This was actually his first trip into the United States, which is kind of a crazy thing to be like, I'm going to the United States. Oh, where are you going? Vegas. Because it's Cameron Lauder, a person who is from Loading Ready Run, describes Canada, and he's used this several times, and I like using it as well. It is America the ride, because you get to see everything in America on one street, basically.
Yes. I very much felt like, as I was walking down the streets, I very much felt like I was just in a shopping mall that you could happen to drive through. And I mean, it's not really a secret that I'm a socialist, but like going through a den, a pit of neoliberal capitalism brought to life was like, cool. and the heat didn't help.
Oh no.
Holy crap! The heat. We're at a temperate 8 degrees out here, and I'm only wearing a hoodie. And I could take this off. I could wear a shirt if I wanted to. I could go outside into my wee garden and have a sit down in the nice sun. Sorry, not America, but Vegas specifically. The moment I stepped out of the airport, it felt like someone had like jammed a straw in me and was sucking all the moisture out. It was ridiculous.
That's what's called a
I was
dry
like having a
heat.
bath in sand.
That's what's called a dry heat.
Unreal.
Yeah, no,
That's
we
fine.
have a humid heat down here, so you're wet and losing all your moisture, but you're also sticky.
Oh, that's even the worst. I when I was younger, I did like a trek around Bolivia, as part of like a school thing. We had to like go on this expedition. I think it was called World Challenge or something like that. And we were in the Amazon basin. I remember like very vividly. I don't remember lots about the trip because I was a lot younger and also very altitude sick.
Oh no!
But I remember like getting out of the tent in the morning with like one set of clothes on, going to do all the breakfast stuff, do the washing up, come back in, and having to change my clothes because they were already drenched just by walking through like the heat.
Yeah.
So one day I do want to like actually like properly go to, because I don't. Vegas doesn't feel like America. I think you're right. Like
Vegas is very much Cameron was just basically said Vegas is America the ride.
Yeah, it felt like a theme park
Yeah.
for America. I want to actually go to, like, I've got pals in Chicago. I've got pals in up in Toronto as well, who I will actually be seeing in May.
So Magic Fest Toronto.
Yeah, baby, I'm coming to Magic Fest Toronto. I'm very excited about that. I've never been to Canada before in my entire life.
As someone who's only basically lived in the Southern Americas, going out of state is actually really cool. So I actually understand that completely. I haven't gone out of the country yet, but going out of state has also been very fun. When it's all you know.
America's like a continent. Like it's it always boggles my mind how far away things are in America, because you think, oh, it's, you know, you want to get from one big city to another big city and you're in a country. For here, I could, you know, get on the train and, pardon me, I can get on the train and for the low price of almost £100, I could be in Manchester in like an hour and a half. And, you know, that's big city to big city.
Yeah.
But then you go, oh, you know, you're in New York. Hey, I'm flying into Houston later. We should hang out. It's like, pardon? you're several time zones away there, my dude.
You're about 3 days away from me, and then you're like, wait, what? 3 days? Are you serious?
It's unreal.
Yeah.
But I even like Canada, because again, like the Surfs, who, if you don't already watch them, twitch.tv/ I think it's Surfs TV. Same on Twitter and on YouTube as well. But I did I had a chat with them. I've been watching them a wee bit, and I said, I'm in Canada. I'm in Toronto. If you want to link up, let me know. And they were like, we are on the other side of the continent. It's like, I again forget that Canada is one big long country.
I believe you will be the Spike Feeders, I believe, are going to be at Toronto.
Oh, lovely.
And I believe Kitchen Table Commander is also.
I love Kitchen Table.
Yes.
Kitchen Table. Met him at Vegas. Absolute delight of a human being.
Yes, that was the first time I met Kitchen Table as well. Brett is a wonderful human.
Indeed.
You also met me at Vegas.
Yes.
That's actually the first time I met you. This was literally right after your vent video, so we talked about that a little bit. You were extremely tired because of the flight.
I was. I was tired like you wouldn't believe.
It was a very long flight from what I gathered. Also, Olivia is confirmed for Toronto as well.
I love Olivia. Lovely.
Logan in chat, our buddy Logan, who is friends with all of us, is basically best friends with Olivia. So
nice.
That's the thing. Like you said, America was very much, it felt like an amusement park. You're also very much a socialist. This, to someone, I believe they were jokingly asking in chat, Omar Underwood said, wait, you're a socialist? I mean...
Oh, sorry, what was that?
Omar Underwood in chat, I believe, jokingly asked, oh, wait, you're a socialist?
Yes, I'm a big time socialist. I'm very glad that I'm able to say that in the current climate, because, you know, like you said that in said that back in 2010, said that 10 years ago, people would go, what?
Yeah.
Excuse me? You mean liberal, right? You mean liberal you're socially liberal. That's what you mean by it. But now people actually like have not everyone has an actual understanding of what socialism is, but like
No, they don't.
Yeah, people don't.
Down here in America, really, no one knows what it is.
I know. I noticed that in. I was doing a panel in Vegas, and I think I made it was a jokey panel, like.
Oh, it was Tappy's, I believe. Yes, it was Tappy's panel. It was the match game panel by Tappy. Yes.
So I love that. I love that panel so much. I was right next to Bengineering, and like I think I made like what the question was. What would you give a necromancer for their birthday? And I wrote something along the lines of the gift of unionizing their skeleton army. And I revealed, and I thought like, oh, that's a whatever joke. I was kind of running on empty at that point. It was one of the last questions. I was like, I've kind of joked out. So I turned that around, and like the crowd went, ooh. It's like, what? Are unions really an ooh subject in America?
I once worked for Sam's Club. They said do not. They basically gave you a video saying do not work for unions. Unions are a bad thing. Basically, they basically with fewer words were trying to tell you. The Walmart Corporation was trying to tell you, hey, unions are bad and you don't want to be part of a union.
Yeah, unions. Oh, they suck. Why be a part of the union when you could be part of the Walmart family, baby?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. No.
Are you gonna make sure I get a raise? No.
No. Who are you? Go back to your union.
Yes, worker number 47329. Get back to work.
It was quite. I don't know. It wasn't as much of a culture shock as I thought. Everyone was super. Part of me was a little bit worried that like. I know I haven't caught the ire of the regressive voices, sort of like not within the community, because thankfully like those who are like still actually properly within the community, I don't think are particularly like loud or respected. But like certainly the ones who are tacitly involved with the community, I always thought like, is it going to be a bit risky, potentially being this like this much of a lefty and then going to like a big event or the like. And no, it was fine. Everyone was super, super lovely. Meeting people who live in a completely different country to me, who know who I am, or at least know the content that I put out. They don't actually know who I am. But like, it was so weird, but nice and cool. And I was really like, it's been happening every now and again. Like, just walking down the street and people like recognize me, and it's like, hey, I've just come from a daily shop. I'm not looking my best. My nails are a bit tatty. I'm sorry that you must see me like this. Like that kind of stuff is super, super lovely. And even like, what was it? Or even like just going to my my local game store, which is like actually a Waterstones, but like going to the Theros Beyond Death pre-release and people there who I've known since I started playing Magic, since OG Theros, are like going, "Oh, you're a celebrity now," and I'm like, I
wouldn't use that word.
No.
Yeah, no. I've very much felt like that because a lot of my friends, they'll be like, "Oh, it's the Twitter famous guy. This Twitter handle." They're like, "My name's Jeremy." I don't. It's kind of weird when you call me Twitter famous and then use my Twitter handle. My name is Jeremy.
I am a human being. Oh no, it's strange. Like people calling me Spice is strange as well, but I'm getting used to it, and it's super lovely.
As someone who's been called Cheesecake for the past 3 years, yes, I get that.
Fair play.
Yeah.
But no, it's good.
So, the idea of the stream was basically to just get a grasp on what makes us, kind of, sort of. And it's very good because, like, you get to use the word socialist and not have to worry. You get to use the word leftist and just be happy with that. And it's such a great way to be able to just be like, yes, he is. And if you don't like it, you just don't have to watch him, and that's fine. Yeah. Like,
this is the interesting thing. I put a poll out to my subscribers saying, how do you feel about the politics of the channel? And I gave them 4 options. It was, I like it, I don't mind it, I don't like it, and I've only seen the Cats video, What Politics? And like the vast majority of people on the channel liked it, and then I think it was like 20% didn't mind, and then 10% actively didn't like it. And I think what's very interesting about that, from my perspective, is that they're still subscribed, they're still
Yeah.
content,
Yeah.
and even if they don't like it or if they don't mind it, I'm not just preaching to a choir of like all of the lefties within Magic the Gathering. I am actually reaching people who either are like apolitical or who are like against me politically, but they are still watching my stuff. I've had many comments which is like, I completely disagree with you politically, but I really enjoy your stuff. And it's like, that's great, because even if they don't get anything out of it, it is showing that there is a way that you can communicate with people who you do disagree with politically, in a means that they are going to sit there and listen and potentially change their mind. I've had a number of comments like that as well, like particularly from the eugenics video. Like, I thought something completely different to this. I was not aware of all of this. Thank you for changing my perspective on things. Which I hope to continue to do, frankly.
I mean,
I
that's
think,
what this
like,
kind of was meant to do. It's more like, hey, let's understand what makes people people, and instead of attacking them for that thing, let's embrace that thing.
Yeah, and let's have a conversation. Like, some of my favorite conversations that I've had are people with who I disagree with massively politically, because I am able to make steps into getting them to think differently. I'm very I feel very privileged in the fact that I'm somewhat charming, and so I'm able to sort of like trick people into accidentally rescinding a lot of their beliefs by having conversations with me in person, which is great. I love that. We'll never do Twitch debate though. That seems like a hellhole. I would never get into that.
I saw politics as a streaming category and was just like, that seems like you're just trying to get in an argument with people.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, it's good when you have like juggernauts on either side going against each other and one wins. It really does help shift again that Overton window. And some of them are just like political commentary channels, and that's super chill. But also I don't necessarily like conflict online that much.
Yeah.
In person, I can like have a conversation with someone, and I can talk them down or talk around a subject and get them thinking differently. But online, there's a wall in the way.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't like particularly having debates on Twitter, especially with the like character count as well.
Yeah.
Because you can't like pick up on how someone actually is receiving your news or receiving your points, or what they're thinking, or if they're looking stuff up or not. And so it just becomes like butting ideologies against one another until someone blocks the other person.
Yeah.
And
both are too headstrong to actually block the other, so it never actually ends at that point.
I've started muting people, and I find it quite funny, because it means that they boost the engagement on my tweets, and I don't have to see anything they're saying.
Yeah, my favorite is the quality content filter. There's some guy who was just like, "Are you saying women can't be sexist towards men?" And I was like, I mean, I think she is, and I think she's right, because history has taught us that men have shat on anyone that's not white or male for the last, I don't know, like 600 years. So how about we understand that women and any person of color has every right to be upset with white males. So yeah, it's a little bit of a thing. And he was just like, "Oh, you're stupid." I'm just like, your Twitter bio says mental health therapist. Why would you call me stupid and moronic if you're a mental health therapist, my man? And then quality content filters just never let me see those replies ever again. I was just like, this is cool. He replied to me like 7 times, apparently very angry, and I just didn't have to see a single one of them. This is great.
Boost your clout. No, excellent. I think that's the way to go, honestly.
And my favorite is someone else who lives around you, Pleasant Kenobi. He has a Patreon tier of make me stop being political.
It's like $1,000 a month, isn't it?
I think so, yes. And it's great. I mean, like, the saying "I don't want politics in my thing" is an inherently political statement. So like, and if you don't understand that, that's kind of your problem. It's 1K for 6 hours. 6 hours of him not being political. Yeah.
We stand a man who values his labor.
Well, the thing is that everything is inherently political. Let's be realistic.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, like, Sorry, you go on.
The statement of "don't be political" is just a sugar-coated way of saying, "Hey, I don't like what you're saying. Don't say that. I like your content, and I don't want to have to not like your content." Well, you can like my content and not like what I have to say. That's kind of how the world works. But and I've gone on tirades about this. I think it was actually right before Vegas. I went on a tirade and basically saying the idea of separating their politics from their content is just asking you to not be that person. And when you're asking someone to not be themselves, you're just being selfish.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. No, I absolutely do agree, and you're quite right. Like, what is and what is not considered to be political is like inherently political in of itself, and it is frustrating. But I think that people are cottoning onto this idea now. I've gotten a lot fewer of late messages or comments about like, oh, why does everything have to be political? Because I think people are getting.
Have you seen what's going on right now in this world? I said, have you seen what's going on in this world right now? How can anything not be political?
I thought you meant in Twitch chat or something. I was like, oh no, am I being yelled at?
No, everyone's agreeing with you not even for the most part. Everyone's actually agreeing with you. So there you go. Bam.
Lovely. Love Twitch chat. Back to you.
But yeah, no, like, have you seen how this what's going on in this world? How can you not be political right now? Like, either there's always something that is bad. It's actively inherently bad. Whether we're caging people, which that's our thing. That's not your thing, thank God.
Well, I mean, we've done it before.
Yeah.
We're not strangers to the whole cage thing.
Look, we don't need to talk about colonialization. It's fine.
But this is the thing. This is the thing I don't like about the we stuff. As in, like, because it just jumps into my head.
Yeah.
I don't like how we is utilized by nationalists in a means to link like the goods and the bads of one country to the person.
Thank
you.
Like,
a country is not a monolith. In the same way that something like someone's religion is a monolith. Everyone is individual.
Thank you.
And so the idea that we used to have an empire. It's like, no, we didn't have an empire, George. Like, not even your great grandfather had an empire. Yeah. You just happened to be born in this small sector of Earth that at one point had a ruling party that at one point did a big colonialism all over the world.
Yeah,
we didn't have an empire. But it's much more important to recognize that England itself recognize the actual physical ramifications of what England's empire did, and not to attach that to the an English sense of identity. Our identity being tied to an empire is disgusting, frankly. See last night at the prom, seeing Rule Britannia being sung by an opera singer while she's waving a pride flag. The British Empire was a colonial force, an imperialist colonial force that absolutely destroyed queer people abroad.
Yes.
in communities and societies where they were more accepted. When we took our massively homophobic, massively racist sentiments across the sea and forced it upon them. Don't sing Rule Britannia, the anthem of the empire, while swinging a pride flag. That kind of stuff really does irk me.
Yeah, I completely understand that, because look at it, what's happened. Nothing's good has come out of. I've always said I am not a patriot, and I have no idea what patriotism actually is, because patriotism is basically just allowing people to spew their hate while just saying that they also love their country.
Well, I will say there are some parts of patriotism which I do completely agree with, when it's celebrating the good things that a country has done. For example, I wouldn't categorize myself as a patriot in the slightest either, but I am very patriotic of the NHS, for example.
Oh yeah,
I think that's a fantastic thing that our country has done. I think that it's good to celebrate that, and it's cool to be able to say, I live in a country which has the National Health Service. That's really cool. I was born into a country that has the National Health Service. Not only am I very lucky, but it's also just really cool. So there are elements that you can be I know whenever I see like a British actor who I know from like my childhood watching BBC or Doctor Who or whatever do like a big film or whatever, I feel a wee bit patriotic because it's like I remember that from my childhood, and like that's tied to the country that I grew up in. That kind of patriotism I really, really love. Being proud of a good part of a country, or proud of someone who comes from the same like a town or city or country as you, or county or stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's when that patriotism becomes something that you cannot assail, when it becomes a war to put up between people. When it's like, I must be patriotic about everything that my country does, and any criticism of anything that my country does is an attack against not only my sense of patriotism but also myself.
Yeah.
That's the stuff when it becomes very, very deeply problematic and often nationalistic. So that's the only distinction I try to make between patriotism and nationalism.
For me, the patriotism part is hard because we as patriots in the United States celebrate a lot of winning of wars, and the idea of winning a war is not exactly something that I can say, oh yeah, well that was good. Inherently, in the long run, it was good, but everything else that happened in between, like you can, like I could argue to my face is blue that it's not good, but like
well, it's the I mean, like comparing, like for example, in England when it comes to like the celebration of World War II, like the fact that we won World War II or whatever, that's always tied to Winston Churchill consistently. Everything about World War II is always tied to Winston Churchill. He was
Roosevelt's here, at the time. Kind of, but yeah,
Roosevelt.
Yeah.
And like so, all of the good is always like concentrated upon this person, and then that expunges all of the bad, so that he becomes a patriotic icon at the same time as him being a massive racist, who instigated, or who was like one of the main instigators of the Bengal famine in India after World War II, after India had supplied thousands and thousands of soldiers to the Allied war effort. They were then immediately disregarded and starved to death, mainly by the British government under Winston Churchill. Yeah. And so that sense of patriotism towards the idea that we won World War II, this like idea of Winston Churchill, always must be tempered with an understanding of the actual historical facts of the situation. That Winston Churchill was a bastard who happened to be our prime minister when World War II was going on. So yeah, like that's my stuff. I actually might have to go in a wee bit.
Yep,
I'm
really,
really sorry.
No, it's fine. We can wrap this up with a very fun question. Any other events you're going to be in this year, going to this year, besides, well, Toronto, obviously?
Toronto, obviously. Maybe Vegas. I'm definitely going to be going to Magic Fest London and Magic Fest Liverpool. I want to go to both of them. I think there's a Birmingham one as well that I'm going to try and go to as well.
I know Kenobi usually, or Vincent tries to go to that one a lot, Birmingham. I know he went to there last year, so...
Aye. Well, that's only like an hour on the megabus. So I can make it up.
Sharp Driver says Strasbourg, please.
Huh?
Sharp Driver says Strasbourg, please.
Strasbourg. Well, you know what? Now that we actually know what's happening with Brexit, I could very easily actually come over. Obviously, I'd have to deal with the visa stuff. But like the reason why I was hesitating from going to EU continent events was because I wasn't sure if I would be able to come back into the country afterwards. You go for a week and suddenly the border. Well, guess I live in Lyon now. So I will try to come to EU ones. I'll have a little look to see when Strasbourg is happening. But if I can, I'd love to come down. That'd be nice. But yes, I will. Those are the 4 that I'm definitely going to: Toronto, London, Liverpool, Birmingham. I think it's either Liverpool or Manchester. I can't remember which one. But it's those ones. I think it's Liverpool. Those are the 4 I'm definitely going to.
All right. And then also, fun fact, this man is a playwright and he writes plays. So shout out to that. I mean, that's amazing. It's incredible.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I can barely write a script, as you saw, let alone it's 2 pages, and my printer decided it was going to use 4. Also, these two paper sheets completely blank. Just
reuse them.
My printer case. Thank you. Quick before you do leave, tell everybody where they can find you, because
sure, you can find me on here on Twitch at twitch.tv/Spice8Rack. You can find me on YouTube. Type in Spice8Rack. I'm the first one that comes up. You can find me on Twitter at Spice8Rack. You can find me on Patreon if you would like to come and hang out and read scripts early and watch videos early and stuff like that. You can find me on there, patreon.com/Spice8Rack. I also have a Ko-fi if you want to buy me a coffee if you fancy. That all the money from that just goes to paying bills and stuff like that. But if you'd like to make one-time donations to the channel, please do feel free. And yeah, that's my stuff. Thank you.
So YouTube now has a thing where you can actually not just subscribe, but also subscribe like you could on Twitch. Do you also have that thing yet, or no?
I don't. No, I don't know if I have that. I don't know what I could offer at the moment. I am in the process.
Well, it allows you to live stream shows and stuff.
Oh yeah, I've got live streams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I do. I'm potentially going to do a live stream on YouTube at some point just to kind of see how it compares to Twitch. Although I am enjoying Twitch just for gaming right now.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of, I will be streaming tomorrow. I might be streaming Legends of Runeterra actually, because frankly, I've been playing that a lot and I really like it.
I have heard it is very easy to learn and it is very fluid and everything you kind of want in a card game. So
it's kind of great. I really like it. I've been playing a lot of. I've got an ethereal deck with Hecarim and Zed, and I'm just loving it. It's really smooth.
To those who don't know, those are League of Legends characters, and if you didn't know that, you probably just sounded like a bunch of gibberish.
You know what? It probably sounded like how when you talk about Magic the Gathering, it doesn't sound Magic the Gathering. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So I might play that tomorrow, but I also might play some Magic Arena. We'll see. We'll probably put it to a poll of the viewers. But yes, thank you so much.
Also,
for
do you
having me.
one last thing? If they do anything with Channel Fireball, do you have a code that they could use?
Yes, I do. I use code SPICE for. I need to find out what my code does and where it's used for. I think it's for signing up to Magic Fest. I need to send a message actually and just go, hey, thanks for the code that I have forgotten to put in any of my videos since August.
I got you.
Thanks. Where do people use it? So it's either in checkout for when you are signing up for Magic the Gathering, Magic Fest, or it is in store, but I'm not too sure. I'm 80%. I think it's Magic Fest. If you're signing up, use code SPICE. I will also put that in future videos because I should have for a very long time. But yes.
But thank you again. I appreciate that a lot. Might have you on again sometime. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bring me on. Love that. I might be. My schedule is sporadic at the best of times, but I'd gladly do this again. This was nice and chill.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good rest of your day.
I will do, and you have a wonderful one too. Right. Bye everyone. Stay spicy.
So that was this. Thank you all for joining. I'm gonna see who's currently live. Thank you all for the gift subs, the all that stuff, the follows. It was amazing. I had so much fun. I forgot to hit the record button at the beginning of this, but I'm probably just gonna pull the replay from Twitch and just kind of upload it to YouTube. I'll have a link for you guys when it happens. I'm debating who's the next one and when the next one is, but this obviously is going to keep happening. When I'm not doing this kind of interview structure, I probably will just be streaming random games, whether it be Magic or other games. I occasionally stream obscure Japanese Gundam games because I'm a huge Gundam fan. But let's go see who's live. All right, so boop. You're gonna see all that. Don't worry. Hit this button. I'm gonna raid someone, and I would appreciate you guys staying for the raid. You don't have to, obviously. It's not a do or die. But again, hit this button. Let this load. I have a lot of servers. I do have a lot of servers. James is still playing Minecraft, so we're gonna raid James from Loading Ready Run. And he actually just hit affiliate, so we're gonna go do that. Actually, let's go here. God, I hate my phone. My computer's acting very slow, unfortunately. Also, my OBS still thinks I'm streaming from Get Good Cheesecake, so it's trying to connect to a chat that doesn't exist, so I can't use it. So I have been watching you guys through my phone. Yeah, I'll have to sign out and sign back in. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Holy phone, please. I mean, not phone. Computer, please. Is it underscore LRR? Yes, it is. Underscore LRR. So, thank you guys again. My next guest is either going to be Olivia, Ellie of the Vale, Allie Warfield, or Michelle from the Lordwives. So watch out for those guys. So thank you guys again. Thank you for all the gift subs and subs. Have a great day. And you guys rock. So thank you.